Hey guys, and welcome back or welcome to my channel if you haven't been here before, and if you haven't been here before, subscribe. So Fenty released some new base products, and as you guys know, I am a huge fan of the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Tint. Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Tint. I've had the shade 3 and now I have the shade 2, and this one is empty. So when I saw that Fenty released some new hydrating base products, I was very intrigued to try them. So I decided to pick them up. I've been trying them for a while now, and I would kind of want to give you my complete thoughts and opinions on these two products. So this is the Eaze Drop Blur Plus Smooth Skin Stick, and this is the Fenty Beauty We're Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer. I've been seeing a lot of things about this. I think this one also went semi-viral. Viral is such a weird word in my mind. But yeah, I'm gonna try these out today. They are also on my complexion right now, and I'm very excited to dive into this review. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Blur and Smooth Skin Stick. This is a foundation stick, and it's also like a skin tint. It's supposed to be the stick version of the Eaze Drop Skin Tint, which is like a liquid foundation. First, I'm gonna kind of describe what this product is supposed to be, and then I'm gonna give you my thoughts, because I think it's always interesting to know what the brand intended for this product to be. Flexible skin tint, easy to apply, soft blurred finish. This light coverage long wear formula melts effortlessly for a second skin natural finish. Creamy crease proof foundation glides on seamlessly for light coverage that lets skin looks like skin. Easy to use foundation stick that you can apply anywhere, anytime, no tools required. Very important, no tools required. Stick foundations like this in my mind tend to be very heavy coverage foundations. So I was intrigued to see that they speak of a light coverage. Now, when it comes to my thoughts on this, and you will see this in the demo as well, there are a couple of points that I want to talk about when it comes to this foundation stick. First of all, it is very, very, very creamy. It truly is a hydrating foundation stick, and I was very blown away by how this just immediately melts onto the skin. I have the shade 2, by the way, which is I think one of the lightest shades that they offer. It's almost like a dead-on match for me. I think it is sometimes maybe a little bit too dark, like it does oxidize compared to my neck. In the end, I feel like you don't really see much of a difference compared to the rest of my hands, for example. The formula itself, when you apply it, is very creamy, very smooth, very buttery, and it is because of that very easy to blend. Now, what I also like is that, like they said, no tools required. I have a couple of ways that I like to apply this foundation stick. So what I do is I just take the stick, put it on my face, and then I blend it out with my hands. The thing is, if you have a well-prepped base underneath with moisturizer or SPF, like the blending out of this is insanely easy to do. So the blendability of this product is really something that I admire and that I find incredibly easy to use as well. And usually, like I said, when it comes to stick foundations and like coverage, they tend to be very high coverage. So I always have to be a little bit careful with how much I use. But I do find that this one is light coverage to a buildable medium coverage for sure. As you will see in the demo as well, it evens out my complexion, and depending on the tool that you use, whether it be your fingers or a brush, you can amp up the coverage a little bit, but you will only get to like a medium coverage. If you build it up any more towards like a very high coverage, you just are piling up the product. And because this is a very creamy and also hydrated finish, this will start to look a little bit greasy. So for the sake of being a little bit more hygienic, I do use a brush most of the time, just because I do find my fingers very easy, but I find a brush just as easy, and I don't get my fingers like all dirty with foundation and stuff. So I tend to use a brush, and I do find, even though it's a very hydrated formula, that it isn't like streaky or cakey or too heavy on the skin. You can see that you're wearing makeup, because that's just the case with every type of makeup that you put in your face. It's gonna be noticeable that you are wearing makeup. Very lightweight for a stick foundation. Like, I can hardly feel this on my skin. All in all, just a pleasure to apply every single day. Very approachable. The things that I like a bit less that are maybe sometimes inconvenient. So when you look at the packaging, you can see that it has this little like plastic cap on it, and this is to secure the air tightness of this product and to prevent it from drying out. If you would not have that cap, you would lose some of that hydrated finish and this product will dry out. I have used this for a little bit over a month and this is the product that I have left. Now that might not seem like a lot, but if you twist it like they say, you can see that there is a whole lot more products inside of this. So you have to just twist it a little bit. But at first look, you're like, that's all the product I get, but there's still a lot in here. It's just that the plastic cap is a little bit inconvenient, but it makes sense as to why they've put it here, because otherwise it would dry out way too quickly. And I think one of the other points that I wanted to make that are not necessarily inconvenient, but something to be aware of, is that this is not the most long-wearing foundation that you're gonna find. It is a hydrating formula, so it has a natural finish as well. So it is going to transfer if you put your fingers on top of it, if you put your chin like this while you're working, if you're doing this, it's going to transfer. And I personally don't really mind that. Just be aware that, you know, transfer and maybe fading throughout the day is definitely possible. So yeah, it's not the most long wearing foundation that you're gonna find, but I find that typically the case with hydrating products, so I don't really mind. That's the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Blur and Smooth Skin Stick. I have to say I've been using it almost daily and I really like it. I think it's a nice companion for my Eaze Drop skin tint that I have. If you want that like second skin look without it being too heavy on the skin and while still maintaining some of that pigmentation that you might not get from like tinted moisturizers, then I would definitely take a look at this one. Next up is the We Are Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer, and this is almost like the companion of the new skin stick and also the skin tint. It's gonna be so difficult to get those apart, but it's like, if you know me, I love concealers. I love everything that they do. A lot of the times I do prefer them to foundations because I find that in the way that they feel on my skin, it's just a lot more comfortable and lightweight on the skin. So I tend to really like concealers, but as of late, I have been lacking in the amount of concealers that I have, and I tend to go through them very, very quickly. So I saw that Fenty was coming out with a concealer. I watched a few reviews of people that I trust, and I found that the concealer just all in all really looked like something that was my cup of tea that I was going to like. So I picked it up. I have to say this already, it did not disappoint. So I'm quickly going to read the claims of the We Are Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer. I have the shade 120N, which is a neutral undertone, because I'm still kind of trying to figure out my undertone. I sometimes feel like it's a little bit difficult because I am quite pale and I'm just trying to find the undertone, but I still find that some things are very pink or very yellow. So lately I've just been going with neutrals and it seems to work out in my favor. So I'm happy with that, but sometimes it turns out great and then I'm like, what am I? Do less but get more with We Are Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer, the ultimate makeup meets skincare. It melts into skin instantly, evening, brightening, and hiding dark circles, plus puffiness for up to 12 hours. So it has a buildable medium coverage with a natural second skin finish, extreme longwear formula that resists creasing, fading, sweat, and humidity. Okay, so it also has like these little symbols and it says fade resistant, crease resistant, and I think that's very important with this concealer. Really like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very unique formula in my opinion. I find it very thin, but at the same time there is a punch of pigment that is packed into this concealer. Now, is it the most high coverage concealer? No, I think it's more on the medium to high if you build it up. Now, with the amount that I use, and you're gonna see that in the demo, I find the amount that I use enough to cover up what I want to cover up, or not necessarily cover up, but brighten the area a little bit. And it just amazes me how they packed so much pigment in such a thin formula. I think if it were much more of like a thicker formula, the coverage would be higher as well. But I like the fact that it's so thin because you don't need a lot of it, and it has a beautiful glide and very beautiful hydrated look underneath the eyes. What I often struggle with concealers is just the fact that once I set them with powder, they tend to look a little bit dry and flaky. When you apply it, it's a very thin formula that really blends out nicely. I like to use my finger or a brush again. I also like to use a sponge with this from time to time, but I find that using a very small brush just keeps the pigmentation where I want it to be. And then once the concealer is set a little bit, I go over with a sponge to really get an immaculate finish. finish laid underneath the eyes. It is a beautiful natural finish, and I love the way that this freshens up my under eyes. It doesn't really make them look very bright in the sense of like a very light color and a brightening effect, but it makes them bright in the sense that it creates a very fresh and hydrated look underneath the eyes while providing the coverage that I want it to have. Now, when it comes to the claims of creasing and fading, I do want to talk about that very quickly because I do think it's not crease proof and it's not transfer proof. It is a hydrating formula, and no concealer or foundation is ever going to be crease proof. Product on your skin is gonna seep into those lines that you get as you get older, and that is just normal. That's just the way it is. Even when you're younger, it's gonna seep into some of the parts. Like, this is not an even canvas, and it can never be, and that's a good thing. I do appreciate the fact that they said crease resistant and transfer resistant, because I feel like that's saying more of like a little bit more about the product not being able to be crease proof, which I think is more true. Like, it will crease throughout the day, especially if you don't use any kind of powder, it's going to crease. I personally don't really mind that, but it does resist that creasing a little bit, and it's not an instant crease that you get like some other hydrating foundations or concealers that are very thick, and I think that the thin formula has to do with that. So to sum up, a very thin formula, medium to high coverage, of just a beautiful, natural, hydrated look underneath the eye. Crease resistant, but I personally don't mind that. I've been using it ever since I got it. I don't think I've used any of my other concealers since then. Okay, and that is the end of today's video. That is my review of the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Stick and the Fenty Beauty We Are Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer. I have to say, in past years, I was never really that impressed with Fenty Beauty base products. Their first foundations that came out, I was very happy to see the shade range, and I do feel like they made their mark with that. They came out with matte products. I was not a matte lover, so I was very happy to see them diving into more of the semi-matte, like natural finish world with the Eaze Drop skin tint. And now that they came out with hydrating products, I have to say that I really like them, and I think if you are a fan of like thin formulas, very easy to use, and if you have a dry skin type, I think you will really like these as well. So these are going into my everyday makeup bag. I was very happy to just also give a review because it's been so long. I think the reason why it's been so long is because I sometimes feel like I'm rambling and I'm not getting my point across. That's a review for these new Fenty Beauty base products. So that, my fellow beautiful people, is today's video. Thank you so much for watching my review of the new Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Stick and the We Are Even Concealer, basically new Fenty Beauty base products. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you want to see anything else reviewed. I have a couple of new makeup products coming my way, and I'm very excited to review them as well. When it comes to raving reviews and in-depth reviews, I don't like to base that upon like trying them out once, and I thought it would be a nice idea to do like a full face of new makeup, or almost a full face of makeup over like trying new makeup. So if any of those products are products that you want to see in the future, like a full review, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!